No more David Bell. After 6 seasons with the Reds finally decide to fire David Bell. We're going to talk all about that and more next. Hello, everyone. Once again, the Reds Relay Podcast. We're back in studio. Brendan Hostler with Matt Fry, as always, and Jake is behind our camera today. We got some things to talk about. Obviously, the big news, the last couple of days has been the firing of David Bell. We're going to get into that later in the show. We're going to have a quick recap for you, first thing, and then we're going to talk a little around the league news like we have been the last few times, as some teams have been clinching the playoffs, and we're really kind of ramping up for the postseason here, in the next coming week. We're going to do a little bit of that, and then we're going to do some baseball reference. That is going to be back today. So, I think we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to start with a little recap. These are about done. We only have, I think they have 5 more games, Fry, I think.
Yeah, I know they got the Guardian series, and I don't even know.
I think they have 3 or 4 with the Cubs. I don't remember if it's 3 or 4, but so yeah, we left off with the Braves series. It was after the first game when they came back and won 6-5. So jumping into game 2, really the rest of the series was pretty ugly. Game 2, 7-1 loss. Jacob Junis pitched really well, 6 innings, 6 Ks. He continues to pitch really well for them, kind of being a spot starter right now.
Junis and Martinez kind of the 1-2.
The 1-2 right now, and Rhett Lauder's been really good as well. The bullpen was really bad. Santillan's kind of struggled his last couple of outings. He gave up 3. Justin Wilson gave up 2. So not a great game out of the pen, and just not a great game in general. Friedel drove in the only run with the sacrifice bunt after the Ellie triple. So game 2, kind of, just no offense, not really much to talk about there. Game 3 as well, that was a beating, 15-3. The Braves hit 4 3-run homers, which I believe tied a major league record. Blake Dunn hit his first major league home run on a career day. He had 3 hits. Ellie had 3 hits as well. And, Aguilar really had a big step back in this start, giving up 7 runs, right off the rip, and just kind of a big step back for him, kind of leaves some question marks. I know he's a young pitcher, but I feel like that kind of leaves some question marks going into next year with him. And then a new arm they had in the bullpen, the lefty, LeBrant, he, obviously probably not going to be on the roster next year, gave up 7 as well. So just kind of an ugly series. It was they were kind of due to play bad against a
I was
going
going
to
say Aguilar's pitched so well. He was kind of due for a bad game.
For a bad one, yeah. And they were just kind of due to lose to a good team like the Braves, coming in, we're down
fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, and we're, the Reds are at the point where it's been over for the last couple of weeks, and some guys are fatigued, and guys, just that desire to win kind of goes down a little bit. I know these guys are playing hard, but that kind of just when you're playing good competition down the stretch, that normally is going to go in their favor, not in their favor. So just kind of an ugly series overall. Pirates series was good though. They win 2 out of 3. Game 1 they get the win 8-3. They really kind of took it to their pitching staff, and the Reds saw their 3-headed monster with Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller. Game 1 being Mitch Keller, they lit him up for 8 runs, all earned. India and Stevenson both went yard. Stevenson drove in 5 on their City Connect night, Friday night. Martinez was fantastic once again. He has just been so good for them down the stretch. It'd be nice if they were in a postseason position right now, because he would be one of their most valuable pitchers. 6 innings of 2-hit baseball, 9 strikeouts, probably one of his better outings of the year. Really, really spectacular from Nick. And then the bullpen, Suter and Bucinich finished off the game. Jumping into game 2, the Reds also win 7-1. They make Jared Jones kind of look bad. We were at the game. We filmed some content for you guys, so we're going to have that coming out very shortly.
Was hoping for Paul Skeens' Louder matchup. Didn't happen.
Yeah, that was the rumored start, that it was going to be Louder versus Skeens. Didn't happen. The Pirates kind of moved their rotation around, so Jared Jones got the start for Saturday and did not look good. I thought he looked worse. They just kind of hit Mitch Keller, but Jared Jones just did not have his stuff. He walked a lot of guys, and just didn't have it. And I think he's could be a top arm in this league. And he's obviously still a very talented young pitcher, but the Reds just kind of handled him from the start. Ty France with a three-run homer, and he just continues to hit. Ellie had a great day, 3 hits and a long. The Ty France one was a 2-run homer. Ellie's was a 3-run homer. I got those mixed up. That gives him a 25 homer, 35 double, and 65 steal season. I mean, we can sit on this show and talk all day about Ellie De La Cruz and how great he's been. The home run was awesome. It went right over our heads.
Right over us, almost into the river.
Yeah, in right field. So that was super cool. It played really well. A lot good energy in the ballpark. Not a ton of fans, but kind of that last. It was their last home series of the year, and just a good vibe in the stadium overall. I thought.
Yeah, they had no pressure at all, like you said before. So they just went out there and had fun and ended up killing the Pirates those 2 games. And
yeah.
Ran into Paul Skeens in the 3rd one.
And that's what you want to see, it's kind of frustrating because you see, when the pressure kind of goes away from these guys, how loose they play and how, easily it is for them to tack on runs against good. I mean, these are good arms. Mitch Keller and Jared Jones are, there was talk earlier in the year about the Pirates making the playoffs because of how good their rotation is. So, they kind of took it to those guys, and then they run into Paul Skeens in Game 3, and he was just absolutely lights out. Only went 5 innings, but struck out 9. I think he only gave up 2 hits. Hunter Green made his return in Game 3. They kind of a short leash, 3 innings, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought it was smart for them to pull him early. I really didn't even think he was going to make another start this year, but for him, he made some comments about a week ago now, saying that he wanted to, come back for the team. And, I love that energy from him. And I thought he threw the ball pretty well. And, Neil Cruz homers and just kind of a dud of a 3rd game, 2-0, not really much to talk about there. They are playing Cleveland in a 2-game series for the Ohio Cup, I believe. So Jake, explain to me how this works. So if they split, if the Reds win tonight, it would be a 2-2 split. Cleveland still wins the cup because they won it last year, right?
Yes, it stays in Cleveland. You have to win the series outright for it to transfer back.
Okay, so if you tie, then it just stays with whoever has it. Okay,
yeah.
I was kind of I've been always
only a 2-game series up there.
Well, they played 2 at home. Remember, it was Ellie bobblehead night.
Oh, they only do 2 and 2.
Yeah, they do 2 and 2. They've just kind of always done it like that. So yeah, they lose the Ohio Cup again this year. They could still split. They're playing tonight. They lost yesterday, kind of an ugly game. I'm not going to get a ton into that. We got a lot to talk about today about David Bell. So yeah, we're about done with these quick recaps, for Reds baseball because, they have, like I said, we have 5 games left. And it's kind of crazy that the season's almost over. It's been a really disappointing year. I know a lot of fans are really frustrated. Hopefully, and we'll kind of talk more about this, but I don't think David Bell was the biggest issue, but I like the fact that they're already starting to look to next year, and they're making some moves, and they're kind of being aggressive. That's what I like about what they're doing right now. I think you would agree with that as well.
Yeah, they're looking to find a solution for this problem, and Crawl obviously thinks that it is the manager, so go ahead and fire him. And if he thinks that's what it is, go all in on it, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, quick recaps finish. We'll probably have one more of those in our next episode to finish up with the Cubs series. But yeah, let's just go ahead and let's jump into the big news because obviously the Reds, they fired David Bell, and there's a ton of stuff going on right now. A lot of different opinions about it. We're going to give you our opinions. But the first thing that I kind of want to go into is just kind of how his tenure went with the Reds. So he finished with a 409 and 455 record, which, okay, yes, a below 500 win percentage. But to me, I think it doesn't show, because you look at 2022, and that's a year where there was no talent. I mean, let's be honest, there was no talent on that team besides maybe a couple of arms. And a lot of young guys came up that year. And then you have COVID, thrown into the mix where it was half a season, so who knows how they finish out that year. So I think you can't look at the record too much.
Yeah, he got thrown in a terrible situation with what Brian Price left for him to take over, and a lot of those losses, even though he has just been about, if you take away the first couple years, he's been like a 500 record manager, but like those first couple of seasons he had were kind of brutal.
Yeah, and I think it was 2018 was his first year, and that was obviously a bad year. And then 19 was better, and 19 was better with a not so great team. I mean, if you really look at that team on paper, yeah, they had some decent pitching, and they traded for Yasiel Puig in the offseason. But you had guys like Derek Dietrich who were playing well, and you know you had the infamous Aquino run at the end of the year. You know, so you had a lot of guys that weren't everyday players that really played well under David Bell, and it was kind of a fun year. And so I give a lot of credit to him with that team. You know, and obviously we talked about COVID, and then 2021 I think was a big disappointment. I think they had a lot of names, and they were kind of supposed to, you know, they were leading for a good margin of the year, and just kind of fell off at the end. You know, they finished 4 games over 500 at 83 and 79. So, you know, and then 2022 happens, and then obviously last year, starting off the year, the roster was bad, really bad.
They were terrible.
You know, you had guys like Will Myers hitting third, and, you know, you had some guys that really didn't deserve to, you know, be in an everyday lineup. And then they had some young players come up, and they finished the year. Well, they got, you know, in the middle of the year, they got hot, and then finished the end of the year kind of not so great. I think the thing with this year is the inconsistency. I think that's what everybody's sick of, and it's the fixable things. It's the, you know, like, how many times have you watched a game, and I've heard guys talk about this, like, just like relays and cuts from the outfield, like guys aren't able to hit cuts, and the ball's being just thrown into the infield, and guys are taking extra bases. That loses you baseball games. If you can't keep a guy to a, you know, hold a guy to a single or hold a guy to a double, and he's getting an extra base, and then they're able to, you know, hit a ball softly in the infield, which is a win for the pitcher, and it scores a run. So I think little things like that, and the base running's obviously been a big question. I know they're stealing a lot of bases, but they're getting thrown out a lot. They're getting picked off a lot. I've never seen a Reds team get picked off so much. But then again, we've never seen a team steal this many times. But so that, you know, I kind of wanted to go through the years first to kind of get an idea of what his tenure looked like. And obviously the big question is who's going to be next. So I've got my opinion. I want to hear kind of what you think. Who would you like to see? And, you know, what do you think the future is for the manager position so far? What do you, I mean, like, what?
Yeah, I didn't really agree with firing David Bell. I don't think he was the issue, and you couldn't really make that judgment, in my opinion, because of all the injuries and the lineup that he had to work with. But Nick Krall thinks differently, and if they are to go get somebody, the names you list right here, I think, are probably the 5 front runners in your opinion.
I would agree. The names we have listed are Barry Larkin, Terry Francona, Skip Schumacher, Pat Kelly, who's the Reds AAA manager, and Freddie Benavides. There's a couple other names that have been thrown around, but those are the 5 that I
think Skip Schumacher would probably be the best fit, in my opinion, just because, I mean, he didn't really have that great of a year in Miami, but again, his roster was kind of bad, and they like gave up in the first couple months trading Luis Arias, and the GM was like, we're not making the playoffs already, and
Chisholm.
He didn't have much to work with, and he just seems like a good baseball guy, like about the Shohei situation, talking about pitching out wherever, and he like, I don't know, I mean.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like he just seems
he's
like
a gamer. He's a gamer. He always has been.
He played for the Reds for a couple years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like him. I think he'd probably be the best fit. I don't really know. A lot of people thinking Barry Larkin, but I just don't know how he'd be as a manager. I don't.
Well, the Reds have ran into this situation before where they've wanted to take a former player and a former good player, Reds Hall of Fame type player, even Hall of Fame type, you know, National Hall of Fame type player with Tony. They did it with Tony Perez, and they did it with Pete Rose. Pete Rose wasn't a bad manager. Pete Rose just had some really bad rosters in the mid '80s to late '80s. Well, sorry, early '80s to mid '80s. Had some really bad rosters, but I didn't think Pete was a bad manager. You know, from what I've seen and, you know, things I've heard. And then Tony Perez did not work out, and I think a lot of people are skeptical of how it's going to look because everybody loves Barry Larkin. Okay, Barry Larkin is, you know, he's the captain. He's like, you know, I mean, it goes Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, and then probably Barry Larkin when you talk about Cincinnati Reds baseball. So they don't want it to kind of diminish his career. And I know some people have had some opinions about him being on air on Bally Sports. So are you saying you would like to see Barry Larkin?
Not really.
Okay. Oh, you said Skip.
Yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to see Skip.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So for me,
Yeah, and the Reds are the only team that he would ever like
Yeah, he
come
did
out
say
of
that, yeah.
announcing or whatever he's doing right now. He'd be the only team that he'd manage.
he'd manage, yeah. I think for me, okay, so this is how I broke it down. I think that Skip Schumacher would not be a bad decision. But
I think it's probably the safest one.
I would agree, but I also think that Skip Schumacher. I think we thought that. Well, okay. Now, let me think about how I want to say this. So Skip Schumacher is very similar to David Bell. I think. I think they were similar, and now this doesn't necessarily make you. That's going to mean they're the same manager, but similar players throughout their career, played for a lot of teams, kind of did more sitting back and watching. They weren't the star player. They weren't. But they kind of had that like intricate role in a team where they're maybe the bench guy, maybe they're a pinch hitter, so they understand all facets of being a baseball player, and they have the experience. They both had pretty long careers, but I think you're going to get the same thing from Skip Schumacher that you got from David Bell. I think Skip is a little too young, and he's not old school enough to where you're going to take a young team and get them to where they want to be. Look at a situation like 1990, where they brought in somebody that had nothing to do with the Reds, an older guy, kind of towards the end of his managing career. And they brought obviously the name I'm talking about is Lou Piniella. And Lou Piniella ended up being probably the second greatest Reds manager in history. And he was only there for 2 years, just because the way he handled all those young players. And so I think you need a guy with a lot of experience, some postseason experience, and a guy that understands and knows how to win. I think that's the biggest question. I heard Chatterbox Sports talking about this. Nobody in the Reds organization knows how to win right now. Nobody. If we're being honest, nobody there knows how to win.
Yeah, that's
know
true.
what it actually takes to win. You've got a bunch of guys that have played for bad teams. Obviously, last year was good, 2021 was good, but you've got a lot of guys that have never experienced or known what it's taken to win. And what I mean by win is not finish over 500. I mean dominate, win 90 games, win 95 games, get to the playoffs, win a playoff series. So in my opinion, they need to bring in somebody that has had that experience as a manager to take these young guys and get them to the next level. And it's kind of a long shot, but I would like to see Terry Francona. I think that is, you got to get him out of retirement. I know he's got a lot of health issues, but I think a guy like that would be awesome for this team. It's a really young, talented roster. Health is the biggest question for them. There's no debating whether or not they have talent or talent to win. That goes without saying. You have Ellie, you have McLean, you have Hunter Green, Rhett Lauder. The list just goes on and on. So I think bringing in a guy like Tito Francona would just be perfect. And then we kind of talked about this earlier. If that doesn't go okay, I think the other piece that has to happen is I would like to see Pat Kelly in that dugout, whether it's bench coach, whether it's something to where, and I don't believe in just throwing Pat Kelly into this situation, because I don't know if he's ever managed a major league team. I don't think so. I think he's always been in the minor leagues. I don't like throwing Pat Kelly just into this situation and having him find a way to deal with it. I like having Tito Francona or somebody of that caliber, and then having Pat Kelly a little bit behind the scenes, and then if Tito Francona doesn't work out or the health, thing becomes a factor and we have to let him go, okay, now we move Pat Kelly into that situation. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know how many times in like this game where a team has brought up one of their like minor league managers to manage.
Yeah.
I can't really think of.
Well, I know like Brian
when that's
Snitker's a big one. He was with the Braves organization for so many years and never really got a chance to manage the big league club. And then they gave him one shot and he kind of just ran with it. Now the Braves have a really good roster. And I know that there's a lot of factors that go into whether or not you're going to be a good manager. You can be like, I think David Bell's a good manager. I do.
I agree.
I think that David Bell is going to have a good managing career, and he's going, the players love him. He's a good guy. He represents the organization well. I have nothing against David Bell, but I think it comes down to like right guy at the right time, and then getting the pieces. And it takes a little bit of luck to be, because you've got to hope that guys stay healthy and guys, sign contracts to stay there and that the front office spends money. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But I kind of like the idea of having Francona or somebody of that caliber and then having Pat Kelly behind him. And you could have a situation like Philly where they had Joe Girardi and he was this big name, managed a World Series Yankees team and managed some really good ball clubs over the years. They brought him in thinking, okay, here we go. It's time, the times have changed, and it didn't go well. They fired Girardi within 50 games, I think. And then, Rob Thompson took over, and he's been there since. And they've been to the postseason now 3 years in a row with Rob Thompson. So I think you got to look at it that way. And, don't just put all your eggs in one basket with one guy. Don't just say, here, Barry Larkin, take the job and, run with it. I'd say the only guys that I would be disappointed with, and I think you would agree with me, if Freddie Benavides, and I like Freddie Benavides, but I don't think he deserves the managing job, because to me, that's the front office saying, we don't care. That's lazy. That's a lazy, low effort, low risk situation. Just saying here, like why would you fire David Bell, now and not wait till the end of the year? The fact that they did that is telling me that they have somebody ready to go and they have somebody lined up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what that's telling me. So if you're just going to fire David Bell out of the blue and then just say, yeah, Freddie, you can be the manager, that's a load of BS, really. I mean, because it shows me that the front office and Nick Krall, they just don't care. And not that he doesn't deserve it, but
Do you think they would have already announced that they're going
no,
with him?
because they'll go through like an interview process, and he'll probably be one of the interviews. But I really think that they need to go out. The most important thing is they need to go outside the organization. They really do. I know I've mentioned Pat Kelly, possibly, but I really think they need to go outside the organization. Time and time again, this team has tried to win in-house. They're trying to do it with their players now. And it's kind of working, but not really. I mean, they need to bring in some other guys. They need to go outside and find some guys that are going to fit this job. And I think Tito, it's a long shot, but I would like to see Tito Francona. A couple other names I heard was Miguel Cairo was one of them who played for the Reds back in 2012. He's managed, a few times. And, there was another name. Scott Service, who was the Mariners. I don't hate that. But I think they just need somebody that's going to hold them accountable, and make these guys understand what it really takes to win. And we're going to kind of, here in a moment, we're going to talk about what Jonathan India and some of the other players said, and I know it ultimately falls on the players, and they're going to kind of get into that. But, it takes a guy that can hold players accountable. So I don't mean to rant, but, now that we're, kind of talking about this, there were some questions that need to be answered. And so I think what we're going to actually pull up for you now is a video. We're going to do the video first, if that's okay, Jake. Do you need a second to find that?
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay. There's a video on Bally Sports of basically the players' reaction. So we're going to give you that here in a moment whenever Jake pulls that up for us. But yeah, Nick Krall basically said that it was fully his decision. And, it was his doing. And again, like I said earlier, I like that because it tells me that they are kind of done messing around, and they're ready to be aggressive. They're ready to kind of pull the trigger on some moves. And I think the other moves that they made with moving J.R. House into the dugout, as I think he's like their bench coach now.
Yeah, because they fired the other guy, didn't they?
Well, they just fired Dave. Well, yes, you're right. They fired Jeff Pickler.
Yeah.
And they moved J.R. House into the dugout, which I like because I really like J.R. House. I think he needs to stick around. He's done a lot of things. He does stuff with the catchers. He's helped develop a lot of good catchers in this, that they've had, obviously, with Tucker Barnhart and now Tyler Stevenson. So I think they need to keep him around. I just didn't think he was a great third base coach. I didn't think that was really his spot. They moved Colin Cowgill over to third base, which we'll see how that goes. I think he's another one they need to try to really hang on to, whether he's a base coach or whether he's, behind the scenes somewhere. The players all love him. They all love JR too. So far, with those moves being made, the firing of David Bell, moving or getting rid of Jeff Pickler, I think there needs to be more firings that need to happen. I think they need to clean house with their hitting.
I think there will be too, because of what in this video I think India talks about, like expect some big moves or whatever.
Yeah. And I think I think the hitting needs to really be looked into, because there's a couple guys that we really thought made adjustments but didn't really like a guy like Will Benson just kind of really regressed this year. Jake Fraley really regressed. So I think there needs to be a change there. But so far I've liked all the moves they made. I think I agree with them. I think now the timing of David Bell's was kind of weird. I thought maybe they would just wait. I think they kind of owe it to him a little bit because he has poured a lot into this team. So I think they kind of owed it to him to finish out the year. Didn't work out that way, but I think Jake has our video ready for us, so we're going to show you guys that.
He was a huge impact to me, and I know he impacted a lot of other guys, but we still got to finish this thing out. And we all support Freddie, and we've all got the utmost respect for him. And we just got to stay positive and just wait and see what happens next.
Obviously bummed. Loved playing for David. Awesome manager, awesome guy. Gave me the opportunity to play every day, which was awesome. So really just feel bad because I feel like we're all, responsible for this.
We're the ones with bats and gloves, and it's up to us to execute. And I meant every word I said. It's just it's not one person's fault, but as players, you can't help but feel bad for how everything shook out.
We all need to take accountability for our manager losing his job, and then we need to get better from it and know what we did wrong and fix those mistakes and hold each other more accountable and make sure we play a tighter brand of baseball.
We can't, hang our head down. We can't, get upset. It's part of it. It's part of this cutthroat game we play in. And, I feel like there's going to be a lot of changes now in the offseason.
Okay, yeah. I think we're good. Okay. Yeah, so, get some players' thoughts, because to them it comes at a little bit of a surprise. Hopefully the audio was good for everybody. I think it was, but we weren't getting it through our headset, so we don't really know. But, yeah, so, in that video, some of the players just kind of talking about, kind of being a little bit... I know Nick Krall came out with some quotes a few weeks ago that you mentioned about how they were going to reevaluate everything, and so I don't know if these players. Obviously, as a player, you're probably not thinking, "Hey, my manager is going to get fired today."
Yeah, and then that right there, it looks to me like they love David Bell and they were like so surprised that this happened, and then they also felt bad for themselves for allowing it to happen.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the players, and whether or not like I think it was Luke Maley that said, we're the ones that we wear gloves and use bats, so we're the guys at the end of the day that have to produce. And I get all of that, but I think there was a need for a change of voice. You hear the same voice over and over again, and as a player, it kind of becomes numb. You don't really, and obviously I don't know how it is at the major league level, but playing baseball so many years, when you hear the same thing from the same guy over and over again, no matter the situation, you lose that mojo. It just kind of goes numb. So I think it was the right time, I think it was the right decision. I don't think it was the right time. So I'll we'll kind of leave it at that. But the next thing we're going to pull up for you is a article by Charlie Goldsmith on the Inquirer that basically Jonathan India, and I thought this was really awesome. I thought Jonathan India spoke very well about this, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase through this, but he quoted saying, "We're tired of losing. It's the same thing every year here. We just float around 500 and try to make the push, but we just don't have enough. We need to make a move. I know what it is, but I just wanted to say it to the media." So, and I understand what India is saying, and he's always been upfront about, winning. and that's kind of been, and that's why I love Jonathan India. He's a gamer. He wants to win, but at the same time, these players don't know what that looks like, and that's what sucks. Is like you're basically going to me hearing that from Jonathan India is making me think we're going to go into next year and kind of be. We're going to take I don't want to say they're going to take a step back because I think they're going to be better next year. But I think you're going to kind of start over and you're going to have to learn this new winning culture if we get a guy that is, like a Tito Francona or a Joe Girardi or, somebody like that. And I'm a little bit. Yeah, everybody's kind of on edge because they don't really know what to expect. We've had David Bell for 6 years now, and it's kind of one of those things. You don't know who they're going to get. Obviously, they're throwing names around, but nothing's guaranteed. I mean, they could give the job to, anybody. I mean, it could be anybody. God, it could be Joey Votto for all we know. I don't know who it's going to be, so it'll just be interesting to see. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on that down in the in the comments. I'm sure everybody has pretty much heard the news by now. We actually wanted to do this video yesterday, just to kind of get talk about the news because it was just like it's kind of a surprise. So we just kind of wanted to get to that. I'm getting news that we're going to have to probably cut our baseball reference short today, so we do apologize for that. But our next segment that we have for you, after talking some David Bell, is a little around the league news for you. Obviously, this won't include the David Bell news because we just spent 30 minutes talking about that. So I'm going to start. We're going to do this like we have in the past. I'm going to start with the National League, and then Matt will finish up with the American League. So starting in the National League, some news for you. After a 14-year career in Colorado, Chuck Nasty, Charlie Blackmon, has finally retired. Great career for him. Really one of the most underrated hitters of our generation. I know he played in Colorado, but honestly had a really great career. Ohtani, the last time that we did this video, I believe he was not at 50-50 yet, but he has reached 50-50, obviously with that 3 home run game in Miami, and he continues his historic run with 53 homers. I think he has more now. Does he have 54? He might have 54.
I think he hit another 1 or 2.
And I made this yesterday, so that's why my numbers might be a little off. And 55 stolen bases, those might be a little higher now. I forgot to update them. But nonetheless, Ohtani, clearly the MVP in the National League, one of the best seasons we've ever seen, from a hitter in the National League, and it's going to be exciting to watch him in his first postseason with the Dodgers. Talking about postseason, the Phillies clinched the National League East, the actual division. They clinched the East for the first time since 2011. That division has been really owned by the Mets and Braves the last few years. The Mets going to the World Series in 2015, and then the Braves winning it in 2021. So that those two teams have kind of dominated that, and Washington as well. In 2019, yeah. So they kind of, Philly hasn't really had a chance to clinch that division in a while. So, they
always just sneak in the wild card and make runs.
They're a really good wild card team always. So, but yeah, they clinch for the first time since 2011. Kind of some crazy news over the last week. Nationals demote All-Star C.J. Abrams to Single A. He was caught at a casino until 8 a.m. I think it was. Yeah. So, I don't know a lot about that situation. There'll probably be some more news here in the short future. But that was pretty surprising to see, such a young, talented player. It makes you wonder, like what's going on in that clubhouse and, how they're going to handle that. I mean, it's not like he didn't break a law or anything. It's more of a team situation, but, just kind of be out, on the lookout for what happens with that situation. And then last night, the Padres turned a triple play with Shohei Ohtani sitting on deck. And if Ohtani would have came, to the plate, would have had a chance to tie or to take the lead or walk it off. I think it was the 9th inning. Yeah, it was the 9th inning to walk it off. So they turned a triple play to clinch a playoff berth. Kind of a surprising team the Padres have been this year. We talked a little bit about Jackson Merrill and how much he's helped them win. So that is your National League news for today. And now Matt Fry with the American League.
The number 1 pitching prospect makes the debut for the Tigers, Jackson Jobe, and they're in the wild card hunt. And they have at this point right now they are in the second wild card, I think.
Yes.
and calling him up gives them some depth at the pitching in their rotation with Skubal and this kid. I don't know if they're going to use him to start or what in the playoffs, but that's kind of weird.
So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't mean to cut you off, but
Very good.
he will not be able to pitch in the postseason.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's the same situation that everybody talked about with Marte last year. You have to play a certain amount of games to be able to be eligible. Like you have to play. You can't bring up rookies and play them in the. Now you can bring back players that are hurt. Like if we had a guy that was out, like McLean could have played in the postseason, but a rookie cannot come up and. I think it's like a 40 or 50 game threshold that you have to play in order to be eligible for the postseason. So I thought I'd add that in for you. But
So he's only going to make like 2. Or
yeah,
maybe
but he'll
one,
help him
one
get there.
pitching.
He'll help him get
Yeah.
there though.
White Sox become the worst team in modern history, probably in
I think it's
almost
since
any sport.
Since
well,
1900, yeah.
since 1900. Yeah.
The 120th loss against the Angels. I think I saw somewhere the Angels were like. It was the Angels and White Sox. They played each other, and they were both battling for like one of the historically worst seasons that they've ever had.
Okay.
And it was funny they went against each other. The AL wildcard races tighten them up with Detroit, Kansas City, Minnesota, and Seattle. I'm not sure who. I think that's all that's in it. I think Red Sox are maybe 2 or 3 games back. They still have a shot, but the Orioles and Astros both clinch, and I think the Astros at one point were 10 games back.
We talked about them earlier in an earlier episode,
And
and
they
they were 10, 12 games
Ha
back.
Haas said they were in trouble, and I
Yeah.
said they're going to make the playoffs and make a run.
I did doubt them, believe
like
it or
every
not.
single year. And then the A's play their last series in the Coliseum and just walked off. I forget who it was, but they just walked off their
Tonight they did?
No,
Last night.
their first
okay.
the first game of their last series. They hit a walk-off hit to end the game.
I believe it was the Rangers.
Was it? I'm not sure. Yeah.
I was trying to see because I saw the Jackson. I was looking at the Jackson Job thing. I'm trying to figure out if he pitched yet. Has he pitched
don't
yet?
know.
Because I wrote that down.
I don't think so. I feel like they would have made that a lot bigger news.
I'm looking through box scores and I'm not. Oh, wait, that's Rays. Okay, let me go to. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I thought I could be losing my mind, but I thought he pitched already, but he has not for what I'm looking at. I could be wrong. We could be wrong. I don't know. I don't think he's pitched. Either way, number 1 pitching prospect for them. Probably going to help them. It's kind of crazy. They were at one point, I think it was, they were more than 10 games under 500.
Yeah, I know they were like right with the Reds record-wise, basically.
And they have really made a push in the second half. And another team we brought up was the Padres. They were 50-50 at one point, and they've won 90 games now. They went 40-16 in their last 56 games, which is crazy.
Kind of like with the Astros, they were 10 games back and just clinched.
They were in dead last. Was it them that started off with like?
Yeah, they were
like 0-7 or something. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it Houston? Okay, that's what I thought. It's been a weird year for them, but they're kind of like any of those good franchises when you talk about like in football, when you talk about like the Patriots or you talk about the Chiefs or you talk about, some other teams in basketball, that get off to bad starts and then they just seem to find a way, kind of like the Cardinals do and the Brewers do. It's like they just find ways to win games and get back into things. They're never out of it until, the end of the year. And they end up winning the division after Seattle Mariners kind of choke it away. They kind of had that division locked up, I thought, but down the stretch, the Astros just have all the experience and they know how to carry themselves, and they end up they're in the postseason. So, a lot of news over the last week, and the Red season's obviously winding down. So we're gonna have a lot of postseason content for you very soon. We got the vlog that should come out here soon. We're working on doing the voiceover right now for that. We got a lot of Matt's been taking a lot of good pictures and a lot of good videos for us, and we got I meant to mention at the beginning of the video, but we mentioned we have merch in our last episode. It's now available, so you can go buy that if you go on to Instagram and you go into our bio.
You can probably link it in to the description of this video.
Oh yeah, we'll
It will be in the description
Yeah.
of this video as well.
Okay, so yeah, we'll have that in the description for you. But you can also, if you follow us on Instagram, you can. It's on our link tree. It'll pop right up for you, and then you can order. We got the shirts. Like if you haven't seen them already, we posted them. What was that today? I posted that. Yeah, and then the hats. So yeah, you guys can support us by buying those. Obviously, all that money is gonna, go right back into the show. It's gonna give us, a chance to buy some things that we want and to make our show better. So that is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching and listening to us. You can follow us on Instagram as well as subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you like all of our new videos. You can listen to us on Spotify as well, and check out some new TikToks that we're going to be having come out here in the short future. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time.